Good morning everybody and welcome to Murrumbateman Field Days for 2023. My name is Michelle O'Neill and I own a little business called Cherry Tree Equine, and we're based down on the edge of the Snowy Mountains, and this is Hippie. And Hippie today is going to show us all about how groundwork relates to ridden work. Now, for any of you who have horses, who ride horses or know anything about horses, if you watch this mare's body language, you can see straight away that she is not a happy camper, okay? She wants to walk in front of me, she doesn't want to stand still, she'll do this interesting little mouthy thing. You might notice that her focus is completely out over that way. That's because that's where her buddies are, okay? Over there in the yard. So what she's really keen to do is get the hell back over there. Okay, she wants to go and hang out with her friends. She is not at all connected with me at the moment. So can you imagine with a horse that's doing this kind of behaviour, with a horse that's showing these physical attributes, if I was to put a saddle on her right now, there's not going to be a great heap of connection between Hippie and myself. You know, Hippie is not at all interested in what I'm talking about. She's not interested in any of you. All she wants is out of here. And I'll just let her walk up past me because I want you to see how she is not with me. Now, so many clinics that I do, and I do horsemanship clinics all over the country, and I see a lot of horses come to horsemanship clinics that are just like Hippie, okay? They're not connected with their owners, they're not dialed in with what's going on around them. Like, it's interesting, she's not even worried about the sideshows down there, okay? This mare's just not present. And this is the thing, and any of you who, you know, deal with kids or, you know, a lot of adults, when they're not present, it's very hard to maintain communication with them. Now, if I was to get on this mare right now, I guarantee you she'd give me more curry than I'm interested in dealing with. You know, I'm at an age in my life now where I'm not particularly interested in dying, okay? I've got this far in life, I'd kind of like to live a little bit longer. So, you know, why would I get on this nearly 600 kilo animal who is not with me, okay? Why would I put my life, my hand getting on her? And yet so often I see so many people at horsemanship clinics who do. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about how the groundwork I can do with this mare can relate to her ridden work. She's already showing us the first reason how groundwork can relate to work. Groundwork can help us build a connection with our horse. Now, we've already established that all of her interest is out over there. Now, you can tell this mare, you know, she knows groundwork pretty well. If I build my presence and walk her space, she's pretty quick to move away from me. But how do I get her back to me? How do I get her dialed into me? Well, one of the simplest ways is to start moving her feet. Okay, so she wants to be distracted, I move her feet. Now, you can see, and I'll trot around, I'll do 3 circles. Okay, when you're training horses, always remember that 3 is your magic number. Anytime you can get your horses to do things in 3s, it's like the lesson sticks a little bit better. So I ask her to trot 3 circles. Now, like all horses, her ears are the mirror to her eyes. Her ears will tell all of you where her focus is. Now, can you see how she's looking around at you guys now? But she's not focused on me, okay? Now she's thinking about where her buddies are back over that way again, okay? So what I would do with a mare like this is I would work on getting her focus back to me. So anytime she loses her focus, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask her to do some work, okay? So she can do 3 circles, this time to the right. I'm going to the right this time because I went to the left last time. Okay, so I can trot around here. Now, and then I'll ask her to stop. Now, there she walked straight into my space. There wasn't even thinking about me at all. So guess what? She can go back to work again. Now, it's interesting to note, when you're having issues like this with a horse, you need to make sure you have the foundation established before you ever put them in a position like this where there's sideshows, track pulls, crowds. She's out here on her own. Like, her groundwork at home is really, really strong. This mare has been worked and like to the eyeballs. She knows, and you can see by how she reads my body language all the time. So if I had never done groundwork with this mare, if I'd never met this mare and I brought her out here now and I started to try and do all this stuff with her, it's not going to be successful. Okay, so we've got mugs over there on our stand that on one side they say prior preparation prevents piss poor performance. Okay, there's no point me doing no preparation and then coming out here and wondering why the mare isn't dialing into me. So you can already see, if you've been watching her body language from when Emily brought her out, you might notice a few things are already changing in her body language. Already, her head is starting to lower a little bit. She had a lot of green grass last night. She's a little crook in the stomach today. Already her head is starting to lower. Her ears are not quite all so focused in that direction. You can see she's still creeping. Okay, and there, I've lost her. Can you see that point where she came, when her front feet were about here, there was still a degree of connection between her and I. But once she got to here, she's gone past me and already her focus is back that way. Now, obviously, if I was working on this and you guys weren't here and I wasn't explaining things, would have moved her feet off faster. Okay, but because I'm showing you stuff and talking to you, sometimes my reaction time is a little slower than what it would be if you weren't here. Okay, so I ask her to trot around again. I'll disengage it. Now, you might also note I am always disengaging her pointing that way, okay? Because at the end of the day I'm doing a demo and I want you guys to see how bad it can look and how to deal with it, I'm always pointing her in the direction where she wants to go. And you can see she's creeping, okay? So guess what? I'm going to send her. However, if I was just doing this, you know, if you guys weren't watching me and I was just doing this to work with her, I would stop her at different points in the circle. But simply because today, because all of you are here, I'm just being consistent, stopping her on this side so that you can really get a good idea of how distracted she is and how much she's wanting to creep. Okay, so now that I've kind of explained it all to you in basics, I'm going to get a little more specific. So what I'm going to do is, and I have a couple of different games which we call the focus game, okay, and what they're about is they're about getting our horse's focus back onto us. So now I'm going to work on that and I'm going to step you through it. So if you can see right now, I'm going to stand here and face this mare. See there, her ears have gone out past me. Guess what? That tells me straight away she's more interested in what's going on the big slippery slide than she is on me. So she can go and trot her circles. And you can see as she trots around on the circle, her inside ear, I didn't ask for that, her inside ear is locked onto me, okay? If you have a look at her right ear, you might notice it's turned toward, okay? So that tells me that when she's on the circle and I'm sending her around, yes, she is paying attention to me, okay? Now, you might also look at her outside ear, and her outside ear is looking at all of you and flicking around. So that tells us all that she's watching you with her outside eye, okay? So now I've stopped her. Look, she's got distracted again. I send her again. Now, you can use this same principle when you're riding. If you have a horse that gets distracted and doesn't want to be with you, you can do the exact same thing under saddle. So you can do a circle or a square or change direction, whatever you want, whereby anytime the horse is not with you, you send them, okay? Now, you might have noticed just standing still there, she rolled one ear back, one ear was pretty neutral, but then both ears went up and she looked out over there. Straight away, it's go back to work. Okay, now, I'm not harassing her, I'm not making her work hard. If you have a look at her, you can tell she's fairly fit. Okay, this is not hard work to this mare. Now, there. Do you see she turned both of her ears to you? So here she's got one ear on me, she's focused on me, but she puts that head up and both ears go and I lose her, she is going to change direction. Okay, so that's pretty good. We'll let her stop. There's my lick and my chew. Now your horses have 5 signs of release. So anytime you're working with a horse and you get a lick and a chew, a blinking, a lowering of the head, a deep breath, a resting of the hind leg, you are getting one of the 5 signs of release. Now, when you get that from your horse, you actually need a break, okay? You need to stop whatever you're doing and let them rest, because at that moment, they're absorbing the lesson, okay? At that moment, they're paying attention to what you're trying to teach them. Okay, now, as she trots the 3 circles, you might note that she's got a nice, soft, generally, loop in the rein. Now, don't get me wrong, when I'm riding my horses, if I have to pull on their heads, I will. Okay, if I have to pull and to get something done, and especially in my competition life, I will pull on them. However, generally in my training, I do not want to have to be pulling on my horses' faces, and that starts on the ground. Okay, that starts doing this kind of stuff where I'm saying to her, if you travel nice, softly, I will be nice and soft to you. Okay? Now, I'm not going to keep going until she comes back to me today, because that may take a little while. There's a lot going on here, and she's particularly distracted, but you guys get the idea of what I'm trying to achieve. What I want is I want a horse that is focused back on me. And if they're not focused back on me, if they're not paying attention to what I want them to do, then I just change what I'm doing, okay? I don't punish them, I don't get after them, like she doesn't look particularly threatened by me, okay? But I just make them move their feet. Now, with a horse like her, you know, like I said, you need to make sure all this is really good at home before you go out, because here, I'm stressing her as much as I can. If she was at home, there wouldn't be much going on, to be quiet, and she'd be a lot happier about it. So, you know, that's the first thing. We talk about safety all the time. You know, how does your groundwork relate to your ridden work? You know, on the ground, I need them to be dialed into me before I will ever think about getting on their back. I am not interested in riding a horse that is not paying attention, is not dialed in, and is not working with me. Now, of course, the other thing that can help you with your whole focus training is backing up. Now, when it comes to backing up horses on the ground, there's as many different ways to back a horse up on the ground as there are ways to make a cup of tea, okay? Everybody has their own personal preference for what they like. So this particular mare, she does quite good off a march, okay? So if I march toward her, she'll move out of my space. Now, I see a lot of horses at horsemanship clinics that come, and the owners and riders, they can't back them up. Okay, so my first advice is, if you have a horse that you can't back up, start on the ground, okay? Make sure that you can unstick their feet on the ground before you ever try it under saddle. Because what happens is, when a horse gets its feet stuck when you're backing it up on the ground, when you're in the saddle, the first thing most people start to do is they start to pull on their face, okay? And of course, that just creates stress and tension in the horse. The horse doesn't like it. So then it's like, well, why are you trying to, you know, inflict pain on me? Instead of that, stop, okay? Stop and think about what happens when your horse doesn't back up. And what generally happens when a horse doesn't back up is his feet, particularly his front feet, are stuck in the ground, okay? He gets those front feet and he doesn't want to move them. So what you need to do is you need to work on, how do I get those front feet to move? How do I get my horse to actually be loose and free in the front end, so when I ask him to back up, he backs up? So if I turn and face Hippie, okay, now when you're backing a horse up, it's all about your energy, okay? It's all about your intention. It's no good me turning to back Hippie now and looking like this and going, come on Hippie, back up, okay? You guys can all see the mare goes, I don't know what you're asking. But if I approach Hippie with energy and with focus, chances are she's going to back up. So if I turn and face her, now you might all notice my shoulders have gone back straight away, okay? I've grown, okay? I'm not real tall, I have to grow as much as I can. So now I'm going to look her in the eyes and I'm going to march toward her, Okay, now straight away the mare backs away. Okay, now think about this. How much easier is that than being on their back and pulling on their head, you know, kicking them in the guts and all the rest. Okay, so if I go to back this mare up, again, energy first. Look her in the eyes, stand up tall, march toward her. Now if she didn't back up, my stick would just touch her there in the chest. Okay, but Hip knows the deal. She knows what this is all about. So, you know, we've worked on, firstly, what do we do with a horse that is not dialed into us, is not focused with us, you know, and then we're working on getting a horse to back up. Now, how you can put those two exercises together is in another variance of the focus exercise, whereby if I stand and face Hippie, now I want one ear focused on me all the time, or two. Okay, so here we have nothing. Okay, she's looked at you guys. So I'm going to step her back. One ear, nothing. Step her back. So this goes back to what I was talking about before, about if your horse is not paying attention to you, how do you get his attention? Okay, so I can ask her to step to me, ask her to step to me, ask her to step to me. Okay, so why did I turn away? Why did I turn away? Man, the horse gave me here, okay? And it took a little bit of going forwards and backwards, but she gave me an ear, and that's when I can turn off. It's a bit like if I'm talking to all of you, you know, there's a lot of you, I can't look at you all at once, but I'll go from person to person to person. But if I'm just having a personal conversation with my friend Margaret over there, okay, I'm going to stand here and I'm going to look directly at Margaret, and all of you vanish into the background, okay? That's when Margaret and I have a connection. But if I'm scanning, okay, yeah, sure, I'm looking at you all and I'm watching, you know, I can see what you're all doing, you know, but I'm not having a connection. Well, this is exactly the same. If I look at this mare and she does that, I'm happy with that connection, so I break it. Because it is too much to ask your horse to be focused on you continuously, okay? They, you know, there's another tractor turning up, okay? Sure, the Dodgem cars are going to start again in a minute. You know, the tractor pull will be going later today. There's a lot going on for this mare to absorb, and what you always need to remember about horses is that they are prey animals, okay? They have evolved running away from all sorts of wild animals. So she's here going, what's here that's going to eat me? Now, and that's the big takeaway that you need to take from, you know, doing all this stuff. You need to remember that your horse is a prey animal. So when you go to get on their back, okay, you know, you put the in my case, the sheepskin, the wool felt pad. Okay, there's a dead sheep. Then you put on the leather. There's a dead cow. Then I put my foot into the stirrup and I spread it. So I've just put, and you know, you've got the leather bridle, which of course is another dead cow. So I've just put 3 dead animals on my horse, and now guess what? Guess how action started? Because we ate them for meat. And I put my foot in the stirrup and I swing on. You wonder why sometimes horses are scared. Everything in this animal's brain is wired to her survival, okay? Everything in her brain is, how do I get away from everything that's trying to eat me? And yet you are that thing that's trying to eat her, okay? So, you know, so when I turn and face her, if I ask for her attention and she gives it to me, I'm going to let her rest. Because right now she needs to go back to thinking about what that tractor's doing, and, you know, in a minute she'll probably just think about what she needs to eat. Okay, so if I turn and face her, ask her to back up. Now, can you guys see? Okay, that's not, thanks, Hippie. Put your ears back, thank you. See there now how Hippie's got her ears back? Okay, that's when she's not facing me. Now she's looking at the Dodgem cars. Okay, now she's come back to me. Now she's just gone to nothing. Okay, she's sort of paying attention to me. And how do I know this? By watching her eyes, yes, but watching her ears. Okay, if you are not sure, if you're learning how to do all this, watch your horse's ears. Your horse's ears will tell you what's going on in their brain, okay? For those of you who are here at the start, have a look at the body language of this mare compared to the horse that was trying to chew the sand and run over the top of me and run around and carry on 20 odd minutes ago, okay? This is the difference, okay, of a horse. Now she's starting to work it. There's one of my releases. She's not just creep forward, however, okay? So there's one of my releases. She's starting to accept that this is not such a scary place to be. Now, if I was going to ride her out here today, okay, when she starts to show this sort of body language, that's when I know she's starting to pay attention to me, and I know that she's getting to where if I get on her, she's still going to be paying attention and dialed in, okay? So we've got to focus by, you know, sending her around on some circles. We've got to focus by doing what we call the focus exercise, where she goes backwards and forwards, okay? Now, something she's just been doing, which is worth mentioning, and that behaviour there is a nervous behaviour, but that step forward. I have been asking this mare to pay attention to me the whole time, and I see this so often in clinics. People come to a clinic and they want their horse to do everything they say, but then they turn off chitter-chattering to their mate next to them, or they go have a drink of water. See how she just crept again? Okay. Here's the thing. How can I expect her to be perfectly behaved when I'm not paying her any respect and paying attention to her, okay? She's creeping because she knows I've turned off to all of you and I'm not focused on her. Now, I need to respect her as much as she needs to respect me. So, if she wants to stand there, and that mouth chewing thing I actually don't worry about with her, because that is, it's a bit of an anxious thing she does. That's how she expresses it. While she's doing that, that just means that there's stuff going through her head. I don't get fazed about it. But I'm going to pay attention, even while I'm talking of you, about what she's doing, okay? She's not to then start creeping forward. And of course, I don't know whether you all noticed that when I stopped doing exercises and started talking to you, that's when the mouth chewing started, and the mouth chewing and the walking forward went together, okay? So, if you are going to expect your horse to be dialed in and focused on you, you must be dialed in and focused on them, okay? So if she goes to creep forward, it is not acceptable that I just let that happen, okay? It is not acceptable that I just switch off and look at all of you and forget about my responsibility to her. Because what happens is, when you switch off, they take over. And any of you who've ever been trail riding, and I think I'm doing a trail riding demonstration this afternoon, any of you who've ever been trail riding and, you know, perfectly well-behaved horses get out on the trail and then all hell breaks loose, okay? They start, you know, shying and stuff and running forward and carrying on. But you know what? You probably can't actually blame the horse for that, because what's happened is the riders have got on the horses, okay? And especially if it's a group of friends going for a trail ride, they get on their horses and they put their hands on the rein and go on a loose rein. Nothing wrong with all of that. But then they do exactly what I just did. They don't pay attention to what's going on, and they don't pay attention to their horses. And their horses go, oh, the jockey's not home. Paying attention. Oh, who's protecting me? Oh, who's running the ship? Oh. Starts to go, well, hang on a minute, if my rider's not looking out for me, if my rider's not giving me directions, then I need to start doing it. And what happens is they start to do stuff like they shy, they, you know, want to get to the front of the group, they jump off the trail, they wander off the trail, okay? And suddenly a perfectly well-behaved horse becomes a huge problem on the trail. And if you think about what this is about, it's the fact that most of these horses are ridden by their owners, and they're ridden and they're schooled and they're ridden and they're schooled and they're ridden and they're schooled. Okay, they're not just let wander along and do whatever they want. And then when they do that, suddenly they go, oh my gosh, I have to look out for myself, and they do. So, you know, we talk about how your groundwork relates to your ridden work. You know, this mare, if I'm not paying attention to what she's doing, okay, if I'm not, her sneaking forward, her doing all of this is her telling me she's uncomfortable, okay? I bred this mare, I've had her her whole life. You know, I know what she's like. She's a performance horse. You know, she's not bred to do demonstrations. She's bred to perform. And so I have to be a little aware of her. So you can't get annoyed with your horse that they're not paying attention when you don't pay attention, okay? And that means not sitting here playing on your phone and doing that kind of stuff too, okay? That means being spatially aware and listening and watching out of your corner of your eyes all the time for what's going on, okay? So, look, that's just a few little things in relation to how groundwork can relate to ridden work. I mean, there's a whole heap of stuff you can do. You can see there's a heap of props and gigs that we use here that I haven't used today. But, you know, at the end of the day, while I'm standing here with my feet on the ground, I'm a hell of a lot safer than when I get on her back. And therefore, I can build my trust, my horse's trust in me, and I can build my relationship with my horse in a manner that is safer for both of us, okay? And especially if you're new to horses, being on the ground is a fantastic way to read what they're doing, to see what's going on, to watch their body language and learn what they're telling you, okay? And then when you get on their back, you're not having to look for all of that stuff. You can start to feel for it, okay? So, but anyway, thank you for coming. We'll be back at the stand if you have any questions, and we'd love to come and talk to you and love to answer any questions that you have. But enjoy the rest of the field days.